All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Looks like you've been spending some time with the auctions lately.
Yeah, seems like a hot topic right now.
For sure, and it's a good one to dive into.
Yeah.
It's really interesting stuff. It's basically like a digital marketplace.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, where you have all these suppliers battling it out to win your business.
Kind of like a competition.
Exactly. So we're going to break down exactly how all of that works, explore, the good, the bad, and even take a little peek into the future of this whole e-auction thing.
Sounds like a plan.
Right. Oh, and I saw you had some notes on, I think it was a platform called Prokuria.
Yeah, that was one that came up a few times.
We'll definitely touch on that too as we go. Okay, so first, let's just lay some groundwork here.
Yeah.
Our research basically defines an e-auction as, and I'm quoting here, a digital bidding process where buyers and sellers negotiate prices for goods or services through an online platform.
Okay, so like online bidding, basically.
Right. But I think what makes it different is, you're probably thinking, well, isn't that just like buying stuff online? But it's actually way more dynamic than that.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes.
Right. And I think that's where it gets really interesting.
So what makes it so different then?
Well, the thing about e-auctions is that it's all happening in real time. So think of it like almost like you're at a live auction.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But instead of, people yelling out bids, you're watching prices change on your screen as suppliers are competing for your attention.
So it's like that sense of urgency that you get at an auction.
Exactly. Creates this like competitive vibe that you just wouldn't get with traditional negotiations.
Makes sense.
So it's like a digital bidding war, but instead of fighting over some like, antique or something, you're getting the best deals on the stuff that your business actually needs. And, our sources highlight some pretty big benefits for buyers. Things like obviously competitive pricing,
Gotta love that.
right? A wider range of suppliers to choose from and a more streamlined procurement process.
Hmm.
But how much time are we actually saving here?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I mean, think about like the last time you had to negotiate a contract. How many emails, phone calls, meetings, just to like get the price you wanted?
Ugh, it's painful.
Right. E-auctions cut out a lot of that back and forth,
And nice.
which can like drastically shorten that whole procurement cycle.
Yeah.
One of your sources even mentioned a manufacturing company that managed to cut their procurement time from weeks down to just days using e-auctions.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. No more like getting stuck in those email chains.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay. So speaking of different approaches, though, you mentioned that there are different types of e-auctions.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
Not just like the standard reverse auction where the lowest bidder wins.
So we've got things like forward auctions,
Hmm.
which are, more like your traditional auctions,
Yeah.
where prices go up as bidders compete. Then you've got the Dutch auction, which is kind of like a countdown. Price starts high and then gradually decreases until a supplier's like, yep, I'll take it.
I like that.
Right. And then, can't forget about Japanese auctions. Those are the ones where the price climbs steadily. And then suppliers start dropping out as they, hit their limit.
Interesting.
And then lastly, we've got the sealed bid auctions. So everybody submits their best offer in secret. Kind of like a, high stakes poker.
Oh, I like that analogy. All right. I'm a little overwhelmed with all the different options.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
I bet our listeners are feeling the same way. But before we, spiral into auction overload here, let's zoom out and talk about the big picture for a second. What are some of the key pros and cons of these auctions that, we need to be aware of?
So like anything else, there's two sides to every coin.
Right.
On the one hand, you've got all the amazing benefits that come with the auctions. Cost savings, time efficiency, access to a wider range of suppliers, even like increased transparency.
Love that.
Right. And then you've got, the reduced paperwork, all that good stuff. But it's really important to make sure that we don't get tunnel vision on just the price tag.
Totally. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. It's so easy to get caught up in like getting a good deal.
Oh, yeah.
But how do we make sure that we're not sacrificing quality or, ending up with suppliers who can't actually deliver?
That's such a good point. That's where those potential downsides come in. One of the biggest things to watch out for is, that laser focus on getting the lowest price can sometimes mean overlooking other really important factors like, supplier reliability, ethical sourcing practices, even the long-term sustainability of the deal.
Right. So it's not just about like the cheapest option. It's about getting the best value.
Exactly.
Okay. What about some of the other cons that were listed in our sources? What else should we be thinking about?
So another big one is something called supplier fatigue. So if businesses are constantly like doing e-auctions and pushing suppliers to lower their prices, it can really burn them out.
Right. Oh, yeah. Make them resentful almost.
Exactly. They might start feeling like they're being squeezed, and then they're less likely to want to participate in the future.
Makes sense.
And then, of course, there's the whole issue of technology barriers. Not every supplier, especially smaller businesses, have the resources to, engage in e-auctions effectively.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So it's really all about using e-auctions strategically. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It shouldn't be like the default for every single purchase.
Totally. And like, I'll also say, not all products or services are a good fit for this kind of format.
Mhm.
If you're dealing with something super complex or custom, that requires like a lot of communication and collaboration. Maybe an option isn't the best way to go.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've covered the basics, the different types, and some of those like potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
Now for the fun part, the future of e-options.
Hmm.
Our sources were hinting at some pretty wild possibilities.
Wild is an understatement.
I know, right? We're talking AI, blockchain, even virtual reality.
All right.
I don't even know where to start.
Pick one. Anyone. It's all pretty mind-blowing.
Well, you just mentioned AI, and that's probably going to be one of the biggest game changers.
AI seems to be popping up everywhere these days.
It really does. But for e-auctions, imagine a world where AI is analyzing all the market trends for you, predicting supplier behavior, even helps you like fine-tune your bidding strategy as you go. It would be like having a superpowered procurement assistant.
That's wild.
Right.
Like, almost makes those sci-fi movies where the computers do all the negotiating for you seem less far-fetched.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about blockchain then? I feel like that's another one that's always talked about, like it's going to change everything.
I think it's more than just hype with blockchain. It can bring so much transparency and security to e-auctions. Think of it like, a digital ledger. But it can't be tampered with. Every single bid, every transaction, all of it's recorded and can be verified.
So you're saying it would be almost impossible to cheat?
Pretty much. Which I think would do wonders for building trust in the whole process.
Mm.
That makes sense. Okay, now think about just like how we actually interact with these platforms. What about mobile technology?
Well, we practically live on our phones now, don't we?
I know I do.
So it just makes sense that those e-auction platforms are going to become even more mobile friendly. Imagine like managing your e-auctions from anywhere.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Right. Tracking bids, communicating with your suppliers, all from your phone.
So much easier than being tied to a desk. Okay, last one, but definitely not least. Let's talk about VR and augmented reality. Those are already shaking things up in so many industries. How could they impact e-auctions?
Okay, get this. Imagine you're bidding on something complex, like a piece of machinery.
Okay.
But instead of just, looking at pictures or reading descriptions, you pop on a VR headset and you can actually inspect the equipment virtually in 3D.
Whoa.
Right. Or say you're looking at some new software. Augmented reality could let you overlay a virtual demo right onto your desk. It takes try before you buy to a whole new level.
I can see it now.
Yeah.
And then the Internet of Things could be feeding in all kinds of real-time data too, right?
Mm-hmm.
About the supply chain, market changes, you name it.
Totally. Honestly, the possibilities really are kind of endless when you think about it. As those technologies keep getting better, they're going to shape the future of auctions, make them more efficient, more transparent, and way more accessible.
Definitely. Okay, before we get too carried away thinking about the future, though, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. Prokuria. Remember, you mentioned that was in our source material.
Yeah.
And they seem to be doing some interesting things in this space.
I think so too. It seems like they're really focused on making e-auctions super easy to use and, accessible to everyone.
Especially those businesses that might be a little hesitant to jump in.
Exactly. They really highlight ease of use, like real-time monitoring. They let you customize the auction format, have global reach, and you get data-driven insights.
Oh, nice.
They've got a whole bunch of different auction types too. Reverse auctions, Dutch auctions, sealed bid.
So they're kind of like democratizing access to this technology.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it so that businesses of all sizes can actually use e-auctions.
I like that. So if there was a small business owner listening right now, what would you say to convince them that e-auctions are worth looking into?
I'd tell them to think about the things they struggle with in their procurement process right now. Are you spending way too much time going back and forth on prices, can't find reliable suppliers, drowning in a sea of paperwork? E-options might be the solution you didn't know you needed.
It's all about making things fairer, right? So smaller businesses have the same opportunities that only bigger companies had before.
Totally. It's about giving those businesses the power to make smarter purchasing decisions, streamline their whole operation, and ultimately just get better results.
I love that. But at the same time, we should probably say, e-auctions aren't a magic solution, right?
Right. They're not a cure-all. It's more about making them part of a bigger procurement strategy.
A piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. But when you use them the right way, they can be super powerful for creating value, boosting efficiency, and even driving innovation.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We talked about how auctions work, all the different kinds, the pros and cons, and even what the future might hold. But now I want to turn it back over to you, the listener. What does all of this mean for you?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, whether you're a procurement pro, a supplier trying to grow your business, or just, someone interested in how technology and business are changing, e-auctions are something you're going to want to keep an eye on.
They're a force to be reckoned with.
For sure. They have the power to change how we buy and sell things
Yeah.
and create a more efficient and transparent marketplace for everyone. And like we've been talking about, it's not just about getting the lowest price.
Right.
It's about that balance between cost, quality, and value.
And we should say Prokuria is just one platform that's trying to make this technology easier to use. There are lots of others out there. So do your research, explore what's available, and find what works best for you.
That's great advice, because the more you know about e-auctions, the better you'll be able to navigate all of this. But before we wrap up completely, we want to leave you with something to think about, a question to spark your curiosity and, keep you exploring this topic. So as these e-auctions get, even more sophisticated and we start integrating all this crazy new tech, how do we make sure that ethical stuff and quality doesn't get lost in the race to get the best deal?
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to be thinking about. It's easy to get swept up in all the excitement,
Right.
about the efficiency and the speed, but we can't forget about the human side of things.
It's human element.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance where tech helps us make better decisions. But we
Mhm.
don't compromise our values or, mess up those long-term relationships with our suppliers.
So it's not just about automating everything. It's about using e-auctions to actually build stronger, more ethical partnerships with their suppliers.
Right. It's about realizing that it's not just a transaction, it's about those connections and, making sure everybody wins.
I like that. That's a good point. So technology is super powerful, but we have to use it the right way. We got to be aware of the downsides, but also, be ready to embrace all the amazing opportunities that e-auctions have to offer.
Absolutely. And remember, this is just the beginning. Who knows what the future holds for e-auctions? It's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
For sure. Stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop learning.
Well said.
That wraps up our deep dive into the world of e-auctions. We hope you enjoyed it. And more importantly, we hope you feel like you've got a better handle on how to navigate this whole e-auction landscape.
Until next time, keep diving deep.